panel discussion on RBI circular on current accounts with the banks. This session is being organized under the aegis of Banking, Finance and Corporate Affairs Committee of BCIC. We like to specially thank Dr. KV Om Prakash, Chairman of the committee and Advocate, Founder and Director of Consortia Consultancy, and Mr. Venkatakrishnan N, Mentor of the committee and Executive President and CFO of Tata Hitachi Construction Machinery Company, and also Mr. N. Ravichandran, Member of the Committee, Advisor, Treasury, Taxation and Secretarial Insurance, Praxair and Linde Group, for curating this session for the benefit of our members. The speaker for today's session are Mr. B. Anand, Assistant General Manager, Department of Supervision, Reserve Bank of India, Bangalore. Mr. Ajit Raghavan, Vice President and Head Compliance, Bank of America. Mr. Sachit Sahani, Executive Vice President and Head Transaction Banking, IndusInd Bank. And Mr. N. Ravichandran, Advisor, Treasury, Taxation, Secretarial and Insurance, Praxair and Linde Group. And Mr. Lakshman Joshi, Senior Advisor, Corporate Banking, Deutsche Bank, Mumbai. Before I could hand over to Dr. Om Prakash, I also like to introduce the speakers for the benefit of our participants. Mr. Anand B is working with the Reserve Bank of India as an Assistant General Manager. He joined the bank in 2006 as a Direct Recruit Officer in Mumbai and worked in departments such as Currency Management, Financial Inclusion and Development, Foreign Exchange and Banking Supervision. He has got work knowledge, experience in credit market related areas. At present, he is working in the Department of Supervision, Bangalore Regional Office. Mr. Ajit Raghavan is the Vice President and Head Compliance, Bank of America, with 17 years of experience in banking industry, of which 9 years has been in compliance covering transaction services and corporate banking business. He has earlier previously worked with three banks, one being the ICICI Bank, Royal Bank of Scotland, the erstwhile ABN AMRO Bank, and Citibank. Mr. Sachit Sahani is an Executive Vice President and Head Transaction Banking at IndusInd Bank, which is one of the India's fastest growing private sector bank. His career has been in the banking sector span for over 20 years with rich experience in transaction banking, trade financing, cash management, remittance, and digital banking in India and Southeast Asia. Prior to joining IndusInd Bank, he was head and global transaction service at the Royal Bank of Scotland in India and also been responsible for cash management products for South Asia in RBS. He was also nominated in the list of the top 20 people in cash management in Asia by Finance Asian magazine. Mr. Lakshman Joshi is a senior advisor of Deutsche Bank Corporate Banking with over 43 years of experience in banking and finance and specialization in trade finance, foreign exchange, and general banking. He had held various positions in Deutsche Bank, being head and trade of finance operation India, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka, head and of trade products management India, head trade and cash operation DBOI India. He has conducted trade finance related training sessions for the corporates. Mr. N. Ravichandran is a chartered accountant with over 40 years of experience in finance, accounts, tax, treasury, commercial audit, insurance, company law, and secretarial matters. Worked in reputed organizations, MNC and public sectors like BHL, ENY, ABB, and Praxair. Presently, he is an advisor with Praxair and Linde Group. The session will be moderated by Dr. KV Om Prakash, Chairman of the Banking Finance Affairs Expert Committee of BCIC. On behalf of BCIC, we express our sincere thanks to Mr. B. Anand, Mr. Ajit Raghavan, Mr. Sachit Sahani, and Mr. Lakshman Joshi for accepting our invitation to address on this important subject. We would also like to acknowledge and thank IndusInd Bank for being a supporting partner for today's virtual panel discussion. We also like to thank all the participants for joining in today's session. We request all of you to kindly mute your mic and webcam option. This is to enhance and keep the bandwidth strong as well as avoid any disturbance in the background. Please post your questions in the chat box only and the speakers will respond to the questions during the session And in case time do not permit, we shall be sharing the queries to the panelists and shall revert back accordingly. May I now invite Mr. Dr. K.V. Om Prakash to set the context of today's subject and also moderate the session. Thanking you once again to all. Request Dr. K.V. Om Prakash to chair the session. So over to you, sir.
Warm welcome to all. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay. There was a small disruption. I think. I hope all the speakers are around.
Yeah, all are there.
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Yes.
So welcome all to this wonderful evening. Thanks all of you for taking time from your busy schedule. Now, thank you, Prithvi, for the wonderful welcome address and introduction of all the speakers here and a panelist here who have come here to discuss on a very serious topic and a very trending subject as on date, because vitamin M we are talking about. For a company, it is very important. The funds and cash, current accounts. So this is very important for us. And to set the context, RBI had issued a circular on the topic of opening of current accounts by banks, need for discipline. So the name itself goes needs for discipline. So the intent is a noble intent where the government agencies looking at disciplining the borrower and the banks. So that is the intent, and it was somewhere passed in the month of August, and now we are in the round the corner. I think it might get released by November 5th is what we have a feeling. So with this prelude, the notification normally addresses that there are some restrictions on the bankers or the borrowers to avail the current account facilities. So they are talking about 10% exposure. When a bank's exposure to a borrower is less than 10% or more than 10%, what are the nitty-gritties, how it should be followed? So what are the methodology the bank should use? So these are the context we are going to deal with this. And I now, without wasting further time, I would now call upon Mr. Anand B from RBI to just give us an overview of the entire RBI notification, the intent, and what is it trying to address. So over to you, Mr. Anand.
Thank you. Good afternoon, all. Thanks for the invitation. Pleasure participating in this panel discussion. To start with, any issue or concern which requires wider attention, so RBI will, as a regulator, will assume its role and address those issues. So in the same context only, even in this issue also, like RBI has recently revised this operating procedure of the current account by all banks. So this circular has got wider impact. It will create wider impact among all the stakeholders. So in this context, I wish to refer Reserve Bank Governor's statement on August 6, 2020, where he's saying, like, while permitting the lenders to initiate various measures to the borrowers, at the same time, there is a need to safeguard and strengthen the the operations of current accounts across all banking industry, in the sense that if you say that operations of current accounts, we have to say for the past 2 decades RBI has been issuing specific instructions on current accounts. The only logic behind this, that were the motive behind this, that to bring credit discipline, and lenders should know how the credit or the advances for the purpose it is meant. So it means to say that the lender should know the borrower where he uses the end use of that fund. So that is the ultimate aim. So far in that perspective, RBI has been issuing various circular on this subject way back. If you see from the public domain from 2000, where RBI stated initially, like before opening a current account, a bank is supposed to obtain a declaration from the borrower. I mean, from the customer having stating that he doesn't have any credit exposure in any other bank. So that was the initial start. Subsequently, in 2004, RBI again stated that in order to further strengthen this framework, the RBI again stated like from the borrower, in case if he is already availed a loan from, I mean, any exposure from any other bank, so he should have obtained, bank should obtain an NOC from the borrower where he has already availed, loan from the bank. So what happened over the period of time? So there are some concerns which have emanated, like what you call, there were instances of diversion of funds from the accounts. So operating multiple accounts by a single borrower, there were instances of diversion of fund, and banks are not in the position to track actually the end user fund, actually whether the fund, the advances granted, whether it is being utilized properly by the borrower or not. It was very difficult task. So what has happened? It has led to what you call account becoming NPA, or even in fact it ultimately account becoming fraud also. So these are all the issue. In 2014-15, again RBI stated in order to further strengthen, like banks can refer the CLIC platform which RBI has created, where the borrower's exposure is more than 5 crore. So the track record of the borrower can be verified from the CLIC platform. So that was the all the banks would be in the position to refer and see whether the customer has got what you call the good track record from that one. So based on that, whether the current account can be opened or not, these were the developments. So again, the issues. So there are many issues, as I stated, diversion of fund, as well as the end use of fund could not be monitored. So RBI decided, like in order to further strengthen this one, completely revamp this framework, the RBI has come out with this particular circular. In this circular, if I can brief that circular, saying that there are two frames. So now the current, either a customer can have a current account or CCOD account. Either of the one he can have. So already a customer having existing customer who is having CCOD account is not allowed to operate or open current account. That kind of a facility, and all the transactions should be routed through CCOD accounts only. That is the status of the existing customer. So as you stated that 10% and more less than 10%, that one how RBI has brought out in the sense that all the existing customers who is having exposure in the entire banking system, if he is having more than 10% in a particular in a particular bank, you can. So I mean, what I mean to say, like customer can open n number of CC account and OD account. That is not there is no restriction at all. So but the operation of that particular thing, in case if any any bank where the borrower is having more than 10%, so the CC account can be operated only by that particular account, bank, in consultation with the borrower. In case of less than 10%, that account can be only permitted to receive n number of credits, but credits can only be passed on to the bank where he is operating, where he is having substantial exposure of more than 10%. So that is the present setup in this particular circular. In case if he is having more than 10%, in case the next question comes, in case there are n number of ACCOD accounts are there, what I can do with, in case if I'm asked to close a particular current account. So option is given, like either you can open, either in case if you are having CCOD account, so all should be routed through CCOD. So in case if you don't have a CCOD account, then that bifurcation is given in the circular, like only if you are having only term loan. In case we have a term loan where the bifurcation is given of 50%, 50 crores between 5 crores and 50 crores and less than 5 crores. So any customer who doesn't have any CCOD account will have to interpret himself where he is having exposure. Based on that, accounts can be operated. That is what the system at the moment.
Thank you, Anand. That was wonderful, explaining the whole circular in a very detailed manner. One thing I find out is the bank, the circular uses the word exposure, and exposure means funding and non-fund facilities. Does it include even the ECB buyers credit, those kind of things in the exposure? Does it get covered?
The exposure, the circular, what they mentioned here, they have not given the indication. Whereas there is one circular already there in the exposure norms where that they have defined the exposure there. So whatever in the way of fund based and non-fund based, whatever what you call which are covered under fund based will be covered in this particular area. Whereas a non-fund and that is also covered there. As you said that ECB and all that also will be covered as treated as a exposure, sir. Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying. And now we move on to the banker's perspective. I would request Mr. Sachit Sahani to view on this particular RBI circular from the banker's perspective, and how it can benefit the bank and how it can be a problem to the borrowers. Mr. Sachit.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Om Prakash. Thanks for giving us the opportunity, and good afternoon, everyone. So like Mr. Anand just mentioned, I think the intention is very, very noble and laudable in terms of the rigor and the discipline that the Reserve Bank is trying to bring into the aspect of borrowing and lending in the Indian corporate industry. So I think to that extent, the intention is absolutely in the right direction. And like Mr. Anand also mentioned, there have been certain guidelines and messaging that RBI has done in the past in ensuring and instilling this discipline amongst the corporates. I think obviously everybody on the panel and everyone in the room here would want to have more time, but obviously that's not available. But I think I'd just like to point out one or two things, and it's not that it's going to create problems or it's going to be beneficial for the bankers. I think over a period of time, it will settle down and the discipline will be instilled. And I think a couple of things that will be required is, and the first is going to be the database. As to where is the information going to come from? What is going to be the golden source? Like Mr. Anand also mentioned, it's the CRILIC database, which is really going to be, the golden source of all such information. But there are some issues, there are some shortcomings in terms of the data and the quality of data sometimes that is being reported, and sometimes the types of facilities that are being reported. So sometimes it's not very easy to identify whether it's really a CCOD facility or not. So that is dependent upon the quality of the data input. But I think over a period of time and with Reserve Bank's guidance, it will be really crucial that this database is sacrosanct. This is the only database that banks and the constituent borrowers refer to, and it's available to all, obviously on a need basis, but it's made available to all the participants and stakeholders in the system. So I think that's going to be very crucial. And of course, we have seen a number of initiatives from the RBI on the digital side, and I think this is the right place to be leveraging digital to make it simpler and easier for corporates and of course for banks also. I think I just saw a question also on the panel saying that where will the information come from? So this is really going to be the source. The bureaus are going to be the other sources. And of course, the banks, the way the banks are working is the banks are going to be taking declarations from their constituents in terms of how their facilities are, how are they spread across the banking system, what types of facilities are, because on the basis of that only can the bank decide as to what needs to be done in terms of current accounts or collection accounts, as the case may be, like Mr. Anand also mentioned. So I think that is one very crucial aspect in terms of data, sanctity of data, and being made available to all. I think the other few points that have come up after the circular and the guidelines have been issued by the Reserve Bank are in terms of a number of queries in terms of how will LC and BG payments be handled, how will special payments be handled, because all banks do not handle customs duty payments, all banks do not handle payments for some very, very specific kind of organizations, whether it's EPFO, ESIC, and all of those kind of things. So even if you have a sufficient exposure with a particular bank, that particular bank might not be able to handle those special kinds of payments because those are handled by some public sector banks only. So I think those are the kind of points that will get addressed as we go along. As IndusInd Bank, we are obviously working with our public sector banking partners to be able to make sure that we offer these services to all our constituents, and there is no disruption as far as services are concerned for our customers. And I think finally, I think just in conclusion, in terms of how this is all going to pan out, I think obviously there is going to be a little bit of apprehension earlier in the system, but I think over a period of time, this should settle down. The sources, the data sources should get identified, which corporates and the banks will be referring to. Various kinds of questions around payments and special payments and all those things also will get addressed, I'm sure, with the guidance from Reserve Bank. And I think this will definitely be in the overall betterment of the entire corporate bank.
Thank you, Sachit. And we move on to Mr. Lakshman Joshi. Would you like to add something on what Sachit was saying? You have to unmute, sir.
Am I audible now?
Yeah.
Okay. So good evening, everybody. After Mr. Anand and Sachit explained everything in detail in terms of need to introduce this revised guideline around opening and maintaining current account, its impact to the banks as well as to the corporates, I would just like to touch upon a few points and not repeating everything that they have spoken, because they have by and large covered most of the things. I think this has been a concern of all banks as well as RBI as a regulator to instill credit discipline amongst banks and the corporates for quite some time. And use of monitoring of funds has been the key requirement from RBI perspective also, because ultimately this is one thing which leads to either misuse of funds or siphoning off the money to somewhere else, and the multiple accounts actually do not help anyone's cause in terms of tracking. So RBI, has been taking various steps, including, introduction of this CRILAC, SMA reporting for some time now, for a few years, which were giving indication of incipient stress in the accounts of the corporates, and it was visible to all the banks to see while reviewing the limits and all that, to know that what is the conduct of account by different borrowers. RBI also introduced sometime last year, I think effective 1st April 2019, that loan system for delivering bank credit, wherein they said 60% of the credit should be given by way of working capital, demand loan, term loan, or short-term loan, and then access to OD or CC should be provided. So I think these were all measures towards this, and that is where last year RBI had issued a draft circular around this opening and maintaining current account, wherein they had asked for the comments, and all the banks had provided comments. Some of them have been incorporated. Now, only a couple of points, from the bank's perspective is that, yes, this is a really a good initiative. It will help all the banks to have better control on NPAs and, managing day-to-day credit requirement of the client. Only thing is that I think 3 months time to introduce this is slightly, we feel shorter time, slightly longer time is provided will be better to avoid any kind of disruption, in managing day-to-day function of the corporates as well as the bank. So that is one thing. And the second is that it is not recommendation, but more of the clarity that, we would expect from RBI is around, one is, the special purpose account, which are in the nature of current account, but there's no clarity as to what will be the treatment of that. We feel that I think they should continue as a normal account, like EFC account. Generally, these accounts are in the nature of current account. and the client may have, borrowing from you, whether you should be able to, bank should be able to keep the account or not. We feel yes. Similarly, a branch office account, project office accounts, special account for FDI, ECVs, ODIs, SEZ unit accounts, which are more like non-resident kind of account, SNRR account, NRO account, now nodal account, now online payment gateway services account, OPGSP, import collection account, export collection account. These are the nature account is similar to a current account, but we hope that this will not be part of this. But yes, clarity will help every bank to ensure that they are on the right side of the regulation. The second is about operational aspect of this accounts, like escrow account. We all know that if the borrower is not having OD or CC limit, then above 50 crore exposure, there should be an escrow account. Our understanding is that escrow account should be probably with the bank having maximum exposure, or can there be multiple escrow account? Is probably another clarification that we would need. And the agreement, what kind of agreement? Escrow account is for a specific purpose, and generally, there will be an agreement or tripartite agreement between the party, the bank, and the ultimate beneficiary. And once the purpose is over, the bank, releases the money. So how will that work? Some, operational guideline around it would be helpful. And whether every bank will have some say in drafting this agreement. Then wherever client can open current account, like two things are very clear, that if a borrower constraint has OD or current account, OD or CC facility from the banking system, then there's no current account. But if he doesn't have any banking facility in terms of credit facility, then there's no restriction in opening current account. But then for opening current account, would there be need of NOC as it is required today? Is another clarity probably will help. One thing which Mr. Anand, maybe I have missed out, but I couldn't find one clarity is. It is very clear that if the exposure of a bank is less than 10%, what is to be done? If it is greater than 10%, what is to be done? But in case there are, for large, borrower who has, say, consortium or multiple banking with 10 to 15 banks, and each one of them have less than 10% exposure. No one has more than 10% exposure. Then how things will work? Who will maintain this ODCC account? And I think one clarity that will be helpful. And then, of course, as I think the other speaker, Mr. Sujit, mentioned about exposure definition, and you also explained that. But yes, it will help to have a clarity. Because as of now in LEF also, we don't take into account any facility which is given outside India, whether it is a buyer's credit or any, because that is not an exposure in India. That exposure is taken by a bank or a branch, outside India. The derivative exposures, I don't know how the derivative exposures are reported in CRILIC. Yeah. So, some definition around it will also help it. So I think these are the few points which, from the bank's point of view, I thought, I'll put it across here for discussion and deliberation.
Wonderful, wonderful. It shows your experience, sir, 43 years of experience in banking line, and you've made it very easy for me now. The discussion is open. And Mr. Ajit, Ajit Raghavan, a question to you is,
yes.
Many of the corporates use the normal SBI route for paying various tax part, tax and TDS, those kind of things. Generally they go to SBI. And how does it affect your bank, the foreign banks or the private banks?
So first of all, thank you for inviting and allowing me to participate in the discussion. And to the specific question that is on how specific government payments are being handled by banks who are primarily not into that specific business activity. For example, like foreign banks operating in India, most of them, except a few, are not into government tax payments related business. So in the erstwhile scenario, prior to this circular, what used to happen is these payments were being routed through the private sector banks and public sector banks who are dealing with such government payment. So going forward, this is an issue which most of the foreign banks have sought clarity from Reserve Bank as well as to how will such payments be made, because these accounts that corporates open with public sector banks specifically for this purpose are in the nature of current account. However, they would not be having any CCOD with them, because most of the CCOD will be with the primary bank or other banks which they are normally operating. So we are awaiting a clarification on that per se. When we say we, there are multiple foreign banks who have represented this to Reserve Bank, and which we understand is in the process of being compiled with, and some clarifications being released shortly.
Thank you, Raghavan. And would you like to add something on the RBI notification? Any specific question ask is there for you with the RBI?
With specific to RBI, while I'm aware that a lot of banks and industry bodies as well as corporate themselves have approached Reserve Bank of India separately on this issue, seeking clarity on certain operational matters, because while all of them agree are on the same page that the intent of the circular is very thought through and is acceptable. But only point is at this particular point of time, when the entire country is going through this COVID related crisis, people working from home, if banks and the circular also specifically states that at every 3 months a review has to be done on the exposures that each corporate have, and depending on the exposure, if they were to change the banks on a quarterly basis from, say, collection account to the actual operating current account, that would be difficult in the current scenario, especially when people are working from home to, get on to this additional, administrative work of changing banks and ensuring the transactions are routed through only such banks where more than 10% of exposure is there in case of CCOD, or else being the escrow managing bank in case of more than 50 crore without a CCOD facility. So that is something which can be considered and probably will be considered when the clarifications come prior to 5th of November.
Okay, now we move on to Mr. Ravichander. He's from the industry. Mr. Ravichander, what is your view on this? What's the industry feel like as you are a CFO, and how do you view this? How is it going to affect the corporates and the entrepreneur and the business segment, especially in this pandemic situation?
Thank you, Mr. Om Prakash. Thanks, BCSE, for having given the opportunity to curate this session and be a participant. In fact, I think some of the points have already been covered by Mr. Ajit, Sachit, and Mr. Lakshman. But nonetheless, I think I will tell the what you call pain points from the corporate side or the borrower side. In fact, we appreciate that the RBI is trying to what you call discipline the entire credit system. I think it is a very, very noble intention is very good, and it is all the more required because the resources of the country cannot get diverted by unscrupulous borrowers. Intention is very good in that way, but there are certain issues, practical issues facing the industry. First of all, I think as already pointed out, See, many what you call companies use what you call the public sector banks or SBI particularly for most of the statutory payments like VAT, sorry, GST, income tax, TDS, besides customs duty. Customs duty, I think everybody is not authorized, only a few banks are authorized. Likewise for all the other above payments. So many borrowers who borrow from other banks, especially foreign banks, have got credit facility only with foreign banks, operate the current account with SBI or one of the nationalized banks for making these payments. So I think we can't have credit facility with other banks also, with every bank, and this is a practical issue. Although the foreign banks can facilitate the tax payments through the tie-up with the local banks or SBI, but it takes there is a time lag of 1 or 2 days. Fund getting transferred from the foreign bank to the local bank, and then they what you call crediting and the challan coming back, and it becomes a very, very onerous issue in that in respect of tax payments and statutory payments, which are time bound. Second is we need to make the payment earlier, so which also is a what you call loss of interest, or especially big amounts are there, monthly GST payments or quarterly advance tax payments. So the amounts are huge. So if we operate only through the borrowing bank, it becomes a issue. Likewise, other statutory dues like PF, ESI, as pointed out, and other things are license fees are accepted only through some of the banks, like CCOE, factories, inspector of factories, controller of explosives and boilers, etc. All licenses are to be routed through only particular bank. And participating in what do you call tender bids for public sector, they insist only on DD or EMD from a nationalized bank. So these are some of the pain points. Another issue is, I think, power is what I call very, very power as a commodity is being dealt in the power exchange. So for dealing in power exchange, you need to have a current account with one of the banks. They only not many banks are authorized, 1 or 2 banks are authorized, if I'm right. So this is another area. So one more point touched on by other speakers are escrow account. Escrow account is between the parties to the contract. So suppose granting that one party is having a borrowing facility and the account is opened at the particular bank. What about the other party who is not having a borrowing facility with that particular bank? Or it may be more than 2 or 3 parties. How do you park the account? These are okay. Next is Forex. Forex also, I think, for remittances of imports of goods and services or capital goods imports, I think they what they call corporates take quotes from a couple of banks. It need not be necessarily what they call the borrowing bank. So some banks are what they call some banks have better Forex rates compared to other banks. So there also, I think there is an issue if there is no current account. One more statutory thing is under Companies Act, you need to open an unpaid dividend account. Suppose what happens to already opened accounts. Then one more point which was told by Lakshman is consortium funding. Suppose some banks may be having less than 10% or all put together maybe less than 10%. Multiple banks are there. So how do we deal with that? So again, derivatives also. So these are some of the pain points the corporates have to face. But already what we have the what I call Annexure 1 data, which is being submitted quarterly, and Credit database is there. So whether it can be made more robust, the what I call a robust data bank. So implementing the circular in November will have a lot of practical consequences, whether RBI can still implement the circular, but give some exemptions or exceptions.
Well, Mr. Anand, you have heard all the bankers and the industry side. Yes, there are little hardship to the borrowers and the entrepreneurs. Definitely, there are a lot of points which Mr. Ravichandran has brought in. What would you say, sir? Would RBI has been receiving a lot of representation, I believe. Of course, BCICI will also give its representation by this weekend. But what is your reaction on all these things? Will RBI look at it seriously? Will they go slow on this, or still consider in closing this? How do you see it?
Here, if you see that, I think you would have seen in the in the couple of months, or different stakeholders and organizations have already taken up with the central office on different issues, operational difficulties, which other panelists raised that. They have already raised those things. Apart from that, what I would feel is that RBI will consider if it is anything which any issues which require to be addressed. First thing. Second thing, system will correct its own on its own. Like still a lot of time is there. So what I feel is that it's purely an understanding among the other borrowers. What is the purpose of bringing this particular circular? That is the main thing here. So in this IT-driven banking industry, if you see that adapting to this any kind of an issue, there will be the initial what you call hesitation and reluctance. Obviously, over some period of time, same thing like when banking industry imbibed the what you call IT, their initial reaction was something different. The same way, whatever RBI brings in, like initial thing that will be analyzed and all what are the what in case if it is happening like this, what will happen like this. So RBI is considering all the issues. They will consider, and in case if anything which requires actual attention required, obviously they will address, or otherwise that system will have to correct on its own. That is the main thing. And if you feel that private sector and public sector, there is no what you call differential treatment there. So what here is that substantial advances from the public sector bank, whereas what could you call this CASA market share is with, I mean, if you comparatively, I'm talking about with the private sector. Mostly there was the sound enough in the IT sector. I mean, what you call in infrastructure wise, private sector is very sound enough, and most of the borrowers prefer holding current account with private sector. So private sector will have banks will have to think, reorient themselves, and they will have to act accordingly and what you call change their role. Merely facilitating the current holding a current account, like they may have to extend credit facility, or they will have to take a call based on that. That's what.
So one more issue is there. In fact, I think thanks for replying to that. So basically, this will be effective from 5th November. What happens to the pending, what I call existing accounts? How do we operate? And one more issue which I missed out was, see, when you appoint a AD for any ECB, either funded by the foreign banks situated, they fund through local branches, or from a group you borrow, either dollar denominated ECB, or earlier masala bonds or rupee denominated bonds. There is AD earmarked, and you have to open a special account for that purpose. What happens to that? Because still the servicing of either repayments or interest payments are being done through such accounts. That is one. Second is what happens to the existing current accounts of the SBI or other accounts for facilitating tax payments and statutory payments.
That November 6 is not yet over. Second is banks have started implementing. So it will take time, as you all stated that 3 months is too short. So all of a sudden, like RBI will not take in a different view, a serious view on the banks not implementing it. So it will, over the period of time, as I told you, the solution to this is that either if the issue is very serious, RBI will come out with the solution, point number one. In case if it doesn't require any kind of an intervention, obviously the system will have to correct it. Only two things.
Okay, Mr. Krishnamurthy, I think you raised your hand. You have any specific questions? You can unmute and ask the question.
Yeah. See, we operate in the financial inclusion area. See, the financial inclusion is including the non-banked rural and urban areas into the banking sector. This is the government program and we provide a platform for the financial inclusion program. For this purpose, we sign agreements with various banks, both private and public sector banks, for providing the financial inclusion services. Now, we have to open current account with the various banks so that the business correspondents who are working in the fields, that is the rural areas, have to be paid their monies through their respective current accounts in their banks. Now, if we have to close all those current accounts, it becomes very difficult to operate do the business itself. Financial inclusion is something which runs with across the country, north to south, west to east. All fields are involved, rural areas are involved. The agreements are signed with many banks to render these banking services through those banks to the villages. So we do have many current accounts, but now closing these current accounts would virtually put a dead stop to the whole business.
Mr. Lakshman, would you like to take this question?
Yeah, so hopefully I'm unmute. Yeah. Yeah, my view on this is that, see, RBI has given some flexibility here. They have allowed collection accounts to be opened in which all collections can be made. The only restriction that RBI has stipulated is that you can't use this collection account for managing your day-to-day working, capital requirement or in disbursement. This money ultimately has to be pulled back to your main bank, ODCC account, from where you can then, use it for your normal working capital requirement for the disbursements, etc., etc. So I think there is alternate solution available to this, is my view, and Mr. Anand can correct if there is anything else.
Sir, the current accounts are used not only for collection but payment to the business correspondents. Their fees has to be paid by the respective banks. Let us say I have signed an agreement with SBI or Canara Bank or Yes Bank for financial inclusion. The monies have to be paid to the business correspondents of those banks. So the payment also goes from that bank. It is almost like a escrow account. I receive the money and pay out from the same account, bank to those business correspondents. And this has to happen on the same day, basically. I receive the amount and pay them immediately.
So, my view on this is that this is a problem similar to what banks, will currently face, is that, bank has opened a letter of credit or has issued the guarantee, and on due date, they have to make the payment for LC, or on invocation, they have to make the payment for the guarantee, but now they don't have a current account. And even if they have, depending on the bracket in which the account falls, even if they have OD or CC account, they can't debit OD or CC account for making LC payment. Yeah, OD and CC account can be debited only for making payment to the account, where they have greater than 10%, facility. So obviously, every bank in consultation with their client will have to work out a solution that they have to fund, these things in a particular account with the bank, which bank will decide whether it is an internal account or separate account nomenclature. They will have to decide, because it is not only about making this payment. See, bank less than 10% exposure will also have, say, packing credit, will also have, say, some short-term loan, will also have some other credit for which on a monthly basis they have to collect interest. On a periodical basis, they have to collect EMIs. They have to collect some foreign bank charges as and when levied. So how are they going to, facilitate all this payment? Obviously, they will have to open some account which is not a current account, which is purely funded by client-induced funds. And this is what, the reason why I, mentioned it in the beginning, that probably banks would need a slightly longer time to kind of set up all these things. So in a similar way, I feel is that, these account, your accounts will get converted into collection account, and all the payment that you have to make, through those bank to, other parties will have to be made through a mechanism like, how are you going to fulfill your obligation for payment of interest, payment of installment, and payment of, similar charges, interest, etc. is my view.
There are some questions in the chat box which I will shoot it. It's a very interesting question. One, Mr. Dr. Sundaramurthy has asked, basically the interest on the current account. Some banks are giving, some banks are not giving. Is it the policy laid down by RBI or the bank themselves? Is the question. Basically, for the current account, there's a small interest portion. Some bank give, some bank don't give.
So Ajit here, I can try to answer that.
Please.
Yeah, so the regulation on payment of interest is very clear. So RBI has laid down, if you see the latest master direction on payment of interest on deposits, so it clearly states that interest can be paid only on savings and term deposits. Current account is excluded from payment of interest. So if at all any bank is paying interest on current account, then that itself is a breach of regulation.
Okay. And there's another question. I think this was addressed. One Mr. Manindra Gupta asked, will forex limit sanctioned by the bank be part of exposure mentioned in the circular? That is again whether the forex limit will be part of the exposure. I think Mr. Anand can clarify this.
This particular query, like RBI's issue, as I already told you, there is one circular on exposure norms is there, where they've given a detailed description of different what are the fund-based things will cover under that. Whereas this one, forex limit, even Indian banks which are granting that limit, that obviously will be covered under what do you call under the fund-based. So that also limit should also be treated. And one more thing is like which is whether the limit or the actual drawn. If we see that definition in that circular where it is saying that sanction limit is for all the things exposure for the purpose of calculating exposure, we'll have to treat all the exposures. Whereas if it is a term loan where actually the borrower has already paid, only the outstanding portion has to be taken as the limit for the purpose of calculating the exposure. So that is also there. So in this context, if we see fund-based exposure, whatever the limit is there, that limit should also be taken even for fund-based, except the term loan, whichever the products which are offered by the bank which come under term loan like a fund-based, those things will be treated as an exposure. I mean, in the sense that whatever the outstanding portion will be treated. So in this way, that as he says, that will be covered under what you call into the exposure. Yeah.
So likewise, I think the ECB and bank guarantee LC, all those things also will be considered under the exposure. A lot of questions on that line only has been asked by people.
Yeah, exactly. All fund-based and all fund-based, whatever the limit, because that limit can be availed by a borrower at any point of time. So it is a sanction limit. So obviously that should be covered under fund-based.
There is another question from Manindra Gupta. Collections received by some corporates from high-risk countries are currently received in PSU banks. Some of the private and foreign banks are not keen on receiving these collections in their current accounts. How will this get addressed?
So you want me to answer this?
Yeah, so I can. Yeah, I can just.
Any banker can pick this up.
Yeah.
Okay. This is Lakshman Joshi. Probably, let me try to answer this question. Is that, it's not that foreign banks are not willing to collect money from, these kind of countries. They will not touch the money if it is coming from one of the sanctioned countries, from OFAC perspective, because of, the restriction and punitive actions that is taken in case you touch the money coming from any of the sanctioned countries. Other than that, I have not come across any issue in collecting money from anywhere in the world.
And another question has come whether since CC and OD with one bank, surplus seems to imply the entity cannot have current accounts. That mean the entity needs to convert all the accounts into CC or OD. Is it? Can it be converted? I don't think so. Any of the
No, I think the CC and OD is a function of facilities sanctioned by a particular bank. So if a bank has sanctioned it, then yes, it has to be a CCOD account, and you cannot have a current account, with a bank which has not sanctioned facilities. You can only maintain a collection account, get your receipts, and make the payment to one of the banks, which is a CCOD bank, and more than 10% of exposure. So I hope that clarifies.
And there's another question. We have PCFC facility with one bank and current account with another bank. Should we close the current account with another bank? Sashit, I think you should be able to answer.
Now, again, goes back to the basic principle in the RBI circular. If it is a facility which is and you don't have any other CCOD facilities and all, then if it falls under the 10% category, then you cannot have a current account outside of the bank, which is the lending bank.
There's a question whether there should be any limit of the OD account, number of OD accounts.
No, I don't think the circular specifies any limit, and I don't think there needs to be any limit on the number of CCOD facilities.
Here, sir, will you bring some numbers? A borrower can have this much numbers.
In terms of facilities?
Yes.
I think that's. Oh, okay.
Mr. Anand, your views on this?
Yeah. A customer can have n number of CC and OD. There is no restriction on holding that CC and OD, provided bank is assessing the customer borrower and sanctioning that. Whereas it is the issue of, like, as I already told you, it is what you call CC OD versus current account. So the intention is you cannot hold both. That is the only option. I mean, the condition stipulated here. Like as I said, depending on the borrower's exposure. If a customer doesn't have CC and OD, but he is having term loan, so their RBI says that in case a customer doesn't have, he has to be assessed based on his exposure, like less than 5 crore, 5 crore to 50 crore, and more than 50 crore. Based on that, the customer can, if it is more than exposure is more than 50, he can what you call only our lending banks can open the current account. And other banks, non-lending banks, are not permitted to open the what we call collection account. Whereas if it is between, so whichever the borrower, they'll have to assess themselves where he holds, like whether I am having exposure more than 50 or in between that or less than that. So RBI has not put much restriction on customers having exposure less than 5 crores. Further, if it is less than 5 crores, mostly of multiple banking or sole banking, so that monitoring of the particular borrower will be very easy. So whereas if it is in case if it is more than 5, so it is expected that the customer must be having exposure in multiple banks. So in that scenario, that question comes as I said, that more than 10%. Or if it is more than 50, means the escrow mechanism will come into the picture. The remaining lending can only act as a what you call a collecting bank. So in this way, so there is no limit as such a customer opening ODCC account, provided as long as he is eligible to get that particular thing sanctioned by the banks.
In fact, for more than 5 crores, the number of accounts, because the 10% rule, it cannot be more than 10. That is my view. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Another question from Mr. N.S. Srinath is can we not make use of NEFT/RTGS electronic payment system to some of the payments? Can RBI look into an interface or payment gateway? This is the question. I don't know what he is trying to mean. Mr. Srinath, you are there? I think he's only asking whether RBI can look into an interface or a payment gateway for making payments in NEFT and RTGS.
So I'm not getting what he tries to say in
Yeah,
that.
I'm also not able to. He's not around. In the meantime, I will invite Mr. Venkat, our mentor. Mr. Venkat, you are there, Venkat Krishnan? He's also not there.
Chairman sir, Venkat has left.
Okay, no problem.
One more issue facing by the corporates is, I think, on the vendor financing. Vendor financing is not a great facility as such. What happens is vendor financing is done by banks, where they discount the vendors' bills. Okay, and the acceptance of the corporate. There is no limit sanction for that. Okay, but on the due date, the corporate is supposed to pay to the bank, financing bank. There is no what you call it is done by a way of current account. So normally the payments are done 1 day or 1 day in advance, not more than that. So in case the current account has to be closed because it doesn't have any credit facility, that will also put the what I call vendor financing into difficulty. Then we need to go back to the lending bank, and many large corporates with cash surplus, they have the current account as the what I call facilities for basically for non-funded limits, and funded limits for CCOD only for what I call temporary cash flow differences, maybe a day or two. Cash flow mismatches will be there. Because of that, CCOD is always resorted to. It may not be amount to actual borrowing as such. But non-fund based is required by any corporate because of the LCs and guarantees required. Guarantees are mostly to be given to what they call customs, as well as the public sector, where performance guarantees to customers, or public sector as a by way of EMD. So these are the other difficulties. So some exceptions can be thought of by RBI on these lines: statutory payments, escrow, vendor financing, etc., etc. So we'll give a detailed what you call submission to RBI representation. Of course, without compromising on the what you call the need for credit discipline.
Mr. Srinivasulu?
Sir, good evening, sir. Hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, correct me if my understanding is wrong. If we can get a NOC from a bank, from the bank which is given the facility to operate current account with other bank which we don't have any facility, is that possible with this circular?
Now, sir, if you see that the circular RBS revised the circular, there is no concept of NOC at the moment. Like it is gone now, totally revised it. Now, like it is purely, as I already told you, like either you can open and operate a CCOD account. If you don't have, then you can maintain a current account with different banks. So that is only thing is if customer, in case if you don't have any customer, if he doesn't have any kind of what you call CCOD account, so he's permitted to open current account, provided he is having some other facility like a term loan and other thing. So you have to be judged where you stand. That's what I mean to say. So based on that, like what you call you will be permitted to open the current account. In the scenario that, as you said, whether NOC obtained from the other bank, now that particular practice is not in vogue. Now that particular thing is in vogue now. Now that's the reason RBI has come out with this circular.
Okay, thank you, sir.
There's another question from Raghavan Sampath. Sir, your views on TREDS platform for MSME. What are the challenges from bankers' point of view and MSME? So this is basically the TREDS he's talking about. Mr. Sachit, would you like to take this up? Sir, you are muted. Please unmute, sir. Voice is not audible. Mr. Lakshman, can you throw light on this? His voice is not
Yeah.
audible.
Yeah. So TREDS is a platform wherein all buyers and suppliers get themselves registered. Government has also issued guideline. Above certain turnover, they have to necessarily get it registered there. And all the member banks who are registered with these TREDS, there are 4 TREDS agencies. They can participate in the transaction, and depending on who is able to quote better rate from the borrower's perspective, will get the business. So it really doesn't impact this current account circular really, in my view, doesn't impact the current TREDS solution. Because what is important from the participating bank's perspective is that do they have enough exposure or appetite on the obligor. Obligor means the party who is ultimately going to make the payment. So long as they are fine with it, it would be similar to the bank on their own doing vendor financing or any supply chain financing solution, including factoring. Because this was also one of the questions and one of the practical challenges raised by the banks is that on due date, how are you going to settle this factored bills? Because today you have their current account, and the way supply chain finance solution works in most of the bank is it is almost automated. There's hardly any manual intervention. The feed is given into the system. It will process the payment. Net of interest, the payment will go to the suppliers. On due date, you debit the designated account and pull the money and close it. So this designated account generally would be either CCOD account or current account. So in any case, bank will have to find a solution to this in case they can't have a current account. So how are you going? And they don't even have they are in less than 10% category. So even CC or OD account, they can't debit for recoveries. So they will have to find a mechanism. So it is more to do with the bank. But TREDS issue is not, this current account, the new circular is not connected or will not be an impediment to TREDS solution, is my view.
We have a lot of questions on the exposure side and the statutory payment side. I think those points have been addressed elaborately. And as the bankers, what could be the takeaway for the members of BCICI who are representing on the industry side? So would this circular really be a problem, or would it, as Mr. Anand was saying now, the dust will settle down? It will take some more time. What is your view on the on the banker's perspective? Maybe Mr. Ajit can view this.
Yes. So from a banker's point of view, while we all agree there are certain clarifications which are required on operationalizing this circular, but in due course of time, as Anand did mention, that the system will settle down and the system will find its way on how to deal with the situation. But and that is just this entire issue on how to do it, what will be the golden source of the data, the mismatches which are there in CRILIC database being settled, banks ensuring that correct exposures are being reported onto the CRILIC platform, etc. Once all of those are settled down, probably the way in which the circular will be implemented would be smooth. And in fact, after a period of time, probably we'll see some improvement in the turnaround time for opening of accounts as well. Because currently, when a company goes to open an account with any bank, and if they have an exposure with any other bank, it takes bare minimum of 15 days, because that's the time if the other bank chooses not to respond to the specific NOC request that comes from the account opening bank. So those timelines will obviously be deleted, and thus the process will be more efficient going forward. But then we have to overcome this temporary phase of getting some clarity and settling the issues, probably seeking some more time to implement, and it is zero.
And there are corporates which large who have a lot of excess fund and they would like to have a fixed deposit or park in a very good interest paying bank. So how does that will this notification restrict on that, or again we have to go to the same lending bank?
No, current account is not required for placing fixed deposits.
Correct.
So in fact, we have been placing fixed deposit without opening a current account. So that is not a requirement. So that should not be an issue. That's why I not brought this issue of keeping a FD.
Apart from any other questions from the floor? I could see a lot of questions coming up, but almost all are covered.
No, except one or two are there. I think one interesting question was, I think when the sole proprietary company.
Yeah, so whether two accounts can be clubbed. If a sole proprietary company has
two different forms.
Two different accounts, can it be clubbed into one? Is a very interesting question. Whether it is possible. Lakshmanji?
Yeah. So, my view on this is that, the RBI has already issued guideline about UCICI. Yeah, that there has to be uniform identification number for every corporate. So, if there are multiple accounts, they in any case need to be clubbed together as one account from the perspective of various monitoring requirement, which would include this as well, is my view. So it should address that. The current provision is there to kind of address these kind of issues.
Dr. Sundaramurthy, you have any other questions? I see your hand raised. Mr. Lalit?
Yeah, Sundaramurthy here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I told the same point. Some banks which have current accounts, they give interest, and some public sector banks, they don't give interest. But the answer was it is not correct. But there is a pressure from government companies who are giving funds to open account where the flexible operations is being practiced. I'm telling you, government payments coming to us, they are telling open an account where you are going to get interest, so that much of interest amount is deducted from your next allowable sanctions from government. So please, I think this question may be answered by RBI.
Now, as I told you, sir, like it is too early, like 3 months is going to over, doesn't mean that all the things will stop. So as I already told you, like wherever the issues there, RBI, when many entities have already represented the operational difficulties. So after November 6, all of a sudden nothing will happen. I mean, all the banks have taken action, and all the banks are also discussing how to proceed further in this. So if you ask me the clear-cut solution on this thing, like what you call, only this our central office will take a call, and they will consider if there is a merit in this. Yes, there is no other go to. So they may, in case if it is a merit in that particular thing. Otherwise, solution has to be found out in future only. That's.
Another question which has come up by Raghavan, in sole proprietary current account, bankers are not agreeing and are insisting on an additional authorized signatory. So he wants to know the reason. Mr. Ajit?
That is not from a regulatory perspective, not sure which branch or which official would have ask for that, but that is not a regulatory requirement to have additional signatories. So not very
Maybe
clear
the
on the question.
discretionary power of the bank manager, I believe. Knowing about the person.
So
Any more question? Lalit, Mr. Lalit, you wanted to ask some question?
Yeah, hi. Thank you for allowing me to raise the question. Mr. Anand, is there going to be a clarificatory note, guidelines, FAQs of some sort which everybody can go through and find out how to implement this circular? Is that the plan of RBI, or are we going to directly jump into November 5th when this circular will come into effect? That was my question.
As I told you that the things are going on. I have interacted with the commercial bankers, and they are also saying that the things are on the way. So we have done our level best to implement this one. The things are going on. Whatever the difficulties are there, that they have already escalated through IBA, either to, I mean, for all the other organizations have they also represented. So in case RBI will, in case if it is required, I think most probably RBI will come out with, I can't assure you at the moment, but if it is required for the benefit of the borrowers, RBI will come out with that kind of FAQs. That also should be there. But since that is a few days to go for the cutoff date of November 6 is there, so things are going on. Banks are also going ahead, and whatever the difficulties that are being taken up, and RBI is also analyzing these are all the difficulties. So as I told you, like only things which are very difficult in nature, which may be addressed, or if the things okay can be corrected or can be implemented, bank will also do that. And customer, the here only thing is the make the borrower understand the purpose for which it is meant. So that is the main thing here. Many more borrowers, even the complaints keep coming, and queries keep coming to our office, saying that we always raise the issue and make them understand what is the purpose. The moment they realize that, they come in, they are very much satisfied and say that like so this what you call this particular circular will have what you call landmark, the well thought out circular. So it's only an indicative. Yeah, all the what you call interpretation on different aspects. And in case of, as I told you, in case of any difficulties, RBI will come out with a solution to that. In case if it is there, not there, then obviously things will go on and it will get corrected.
Thank you. And there was another question of standardizing the challans, for the payment of various government dues. I don't know.
So I think let me see if I can attempt that, and apologies, I got disconnected. So I think that is a function of the government bodies which are collecting the funds. So I don't think the Reserve Bank or any one of the bankers here can address that, because the challans, whether it's a direct tax payment or any other kind of a payment, the challan is decided or designed by the government authority or body which is collecting that payment. So yeah, it will be a dream come true to have one challan for all kinds of statutory payments, but yeah, I think that's some time away.
So Mr. Anand, will RBI come with any clarification soon, or it is going to be we take it as it is getting implemented, the notice in spirit?
As of now, I have what you call no clue on that, but many issues have already been escalated through different organizations and all the, as I already told you. So those issues.
Some disturbance there. Can we unmute? Mute them. Yeah. Thank you.
Sir, since this circular has got the wider impact on the banking industry, So as I said, I mean, many operational difficulties, no, RBI may come out with, in case, as I told you, in case if any merit in that, they will come out with clarification. So that is what I can finally say, that there is no clue as such. I can confirm saying that the RBI whether it will come out. So obviously the issues are there and difficulties are there. So obviously those issues will be considered and it will take on merit and will RBI will address on that.
There is another question on the chat box. One Mr. Shashidhara has asked. For example, if we have to borrow rupees 400 crores through parent company through ECB routing, and we do hedging for currency with different banks based on the best X rate, then how to arrive the exposure value in case of hedging with various banks? Mr. Shashidhara there?
Hello.
Yeah, Mr. Shashidhara.
No, this is Chandrasekhar. Actually, Shashidhar is my colleague. So basically, I think he's on hold. Maybe he's on another call. So I'll just clarify what is the question of Shashidhar. See, basically, what we are trying to understand is whether this hedging facility, whether it is covered under this credit facility limit or not. So basically, credit facility, we understand it is for ODCC and other facility like LC, bank guarantee, and working capital. In that case, since there is no clarity whether this currency swap, whether it is to be included for this sanction or not, for the purpose of calculating the overall limit. So that's the reason we wanted to understand how it has to be considered.
So I think the simple answer to that is that it has to be on the basis of the exposure norms of RBI, and all non-fund and fund-based facilities have to be included. Sanctioned facilities, not the current exposure.
So you mean to say that this particular exposure also covered under overall credit facility calculation?
So sorry, could you repeat that?
No, you mean to say the credit whatever hedging facility we get sanctioned from other bank. For example, our credit hedging approval is for 400, then maybe exposure is 10% or 20% maximum. So we will not be knowing what is the limit each bank is setting for hedging. Some bank is considering 5%, some bank is considering 10%. Basically, we will not be aware of how much it is blocked by each bank. So, and also we understand that this particular information is not considered by bank for the purpose of reporting to RBI. So that's the reason we wanted to understand whether this is includable or not includable.
See, my view is it is includable, but probably, if there is a specific case you're talking about, we could have a separate discussion. But in my view, it is includable.
Okay, understood, sir.
Satish Nagaraj, you are there. You wanted to have a question? Mr. Satish Nagaraj.
Thank you for the opportunity. So I think the same. The question of mine is before the circular RBI issued a circular, I had a current account other than the borrowing bank. Now the issue is such that to close the current account in the other bank, the EDPMS has to be closed. Our EDPMS cannot be closed immediately due to some term. We have to get the remittance, and that is the one issue we have. So now the bank is charging the penalty for this. So when is the solution for this, sir? Kindly help me with this.
Yeah, let me try answering that. See, EDPMS entry can be closed by any bank who is handling your export bill document. So if you are current bank with whom you already have exposure also provides you the service of handling trade related documents, they can close that entry on EDPMS. So there is, and per se, the bank which was earlier handling the trade related services for sake of not getting the documents at their end cannot penalize you for not submitting the documents to them. But obviously, there is a responsibility as an exporter that you ensure that related documents are submitted to any of your selected authorized dealer to get the bills closed and regularized on EDPMS at the earliest.
Thank you, sir. I'll just continue with this. Now the issue is my borrowing bank. They have sent some clarification with RBI, which has been pending from past 6 months. Now because we didn't get any reply from RBI, my borrowing bank has charged me a heavy amount, and I am unable to even explain to RBI also on my borrowing bank. Borrowing bank says as per circular we are doing that, and the RBI, I don't know whom to contact. Even the bank has tried to remind them to send some code so that they had some technical issue. That has not happened from RBI since February of 2020. So can you just guide me whom to contact in RBI Bangalore, so it will help us at least to close my account. And now I am being penalized for no fault of mine, and there is no transaction happening in my other bank from past 1.5 years. So if you can just help me, it will be helpful for me to close the account.
I would try to answer. I am supposed to answer that. Like initially you'll have to sort out with your bank. In case if you are not satisfied, and here the banking ombudsman is there. Yeah, the banking ombudsman would redress your grievance if it, as I said, if it is a merit on that issue, they will again take up with the bank and seek explanation, and they will take action accordingly. So you can approach banking ombudsman.
Thank you, Vishal.
Mr. Vivek Gupta, you have raised your hand. Mr.
Yeah.
Vivek Gupta?
Yeah. Thanks to the esteemed panelists for clarifying our doubts on this circular. And the circular RBI has released, I think, with a noble intent to ensure prompt oversight on diversion of funds. And it's a really noble circular. But I'll just say a few things, like the implementation needs more time. Because even now, I deal with around 10 plus banks. And even now, not a single bank has a clarity on the exposure. Today, I am coming to know that even the forex limits or the bias credit or ECBs, which are through the overseas branches, will also be considered as exposures. So today also, I don't know how do my 10% comes into picture. So which bank I am 10, which I am 9, which I am 5. Today also, I don't know. And we are at on 20th of October. We are just 15 days short. So how does this get, how do I get a time to implement this?
Sir, as I told you that November 6th is not, RBI has given a deadline. Banks are implementing. As I said, as you told that exposure, how can I calculate? Like we'll have to sit out with this. In case if your exposure is more than like 5 crore or even more than 50 crore, we'll have to sit out with, we'll have to discuss with the banker, and banker also will with what you said, you are having a, what you call relationship with 10 more banks. So you have to sit with them and discuss, as when circular has clearly stated in that, like some in case more than 50 means you'll have to designate someone, like CCOD means in case where you are having more than 10%. So 10% and all exposure is the initial time. It will take time. Some more time. As I told you, it requires more understanding. So once the things get understood, obviously there will not be any problem in that.
Certainly, I understand, sir. But my only worry is even the experts, the bankers, don't know what is the exposure. So that's what is creating issue for me. And unless they are very clear, they are saying they are awaiting clarity from RBI. So if the bankers have to await for clarity still, it becomes a big challenge for us to implement it. We are very much in for implementing, but unless we get a perfect clarity on it, or the bankers get a perfect clarity on it before the time, So now what you are suggesting is, yes, 6 November is not a date when everything goes to a switch off and switch on mode. So great. If that is the case, then I think we would have some time and understanding to implement the circular.
So one more issue I think I heard from some of my friends is the bankers, what they're approaching is whom they don't have a CCOD or a lending facility. They're approaching their existing customers to set up the facility. I think availing more facility than what is warranted is not good in the interest of the companies, borrowing companies also. It defeats the very purpose of borrowing discipline. So this also is a practical thing. I have seen some of the bankers approaching the corporates for setting up the limits where they don't have any limits, which is not required by the entity also.
So with one more last question, I think we can close it because we are already crossed 5:30. There is a question in the chat box. The circular asks for an escrow mechanism for company with no overdraft facility and exposure of more than INR 500 million. Will an escrow account need to be opened for this?
Yeah, greater than 50 crores, an escrow account will be opened if you don't have any CCOD and only a term exposure.
Thanks, sir. Thank you. I think most of the questions have been answered, and it was a wonderful, panel discussion we had with Mr. Anand, Mr. Ajit Raghavan from Bank of America, Sachit Sahni from IndusInd Bank, then Lakshman Joshi, the advisor for Deutsche Bank, and Mr. Ravi Chandra from the industry side. It was a very healthy discussion on a particular circular which has come out, and I hope Mr. Anand has heard all the grievances or messages or requests or clarification. So I think he has got the earful now. And also we heard various clarifications given by the bankers. And it was a wonderful discussion, and thanks for all the participants who have raised various questions and got clarified from the eminent speakers here. And we expect some kind of a small breather. One takeaway which I can tell is the magic date is not precipitated, is what I understand from Mr. Anand. So bankers need some more time, as well as the borrowers also are in a fix what is to be done. So I think this November 6th is not the magic date. To that extent, maybe some clarification might be expected. And of course, there are a lot of representations which have been done to the RBI and Apex agency. So with these fine words, I would like to thank the RBI representative, Mr. Anand, Mr. Ajit Raghavan, then Mr. Sachit Sahni, the sponsor of this program event, Mr. Lakshman Joshi for joining from Delhi, and Mr. Ravi Chandra for wonderfully curating this event. He was the one who mooted this and also spoke to various bankers, and we have here all of them. Today was a wonderful discussion, and a lot of insight has been given. There is some clarity that no heavens are going to fall, and it's only a question of time. As Mr. Anand said, things will settle down. All is well, all is well. So that's the way things are going on. I think we should be positive on this. But yes, of course, there could be a teething problem for various corporates, and the borrowers will definitely find a real bad taste. Sometimes, the bankers also, I don't know about these bankers in the rural areas, how they are going to perceive this, what the communication flow from the bankers to the next level, tier 1, tier 2 cities. That's going to be a major challenge. neither the borrowers nor the bankers may have the entire gyan about this. So that could be one of the challenge. So they would normally check. We have to check up with our head office kind of thing will be happening. So all these things will take some more time, is what I feel. Maybe no sooner the corona or COVID subside, I think this will also subside. So all put together, let us face this and let us take it as a positive note. And Mr. Anand has heard us, and the bankers here have given a lot of clarity, and they are also prepared for this, and they see it's a good sign. Mr. Ravichandran, you have anything to share now at the closing? You're from the industry side.
Yeah, in fact, thanks, Mr. Anand, for accepting our invitation to be part of this discussion. Thanks, Mr. Sajit, for sponsoring and being an active participant. Thanks, Mr. Ajit Raghavan. Thanks, Mr. Lakshman Joshi, being active participants and answering all the many queries. And thanks, Mr. Om Prakash, for moderating this session wonderfully, as always.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I think the floor is open for discussion. I adjourn the meeting. Thanks everybody for joining us. It was a wonderful session. And I really thank all the speakers who have been here with the last 1.5 hours and clarifying everything without any, So any questions? We can give another 5 minutes.
Prithvi and Shyam Prasad for wonderfully organizing this.
Thanks. Always welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Informative sessions are very, very good.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Sachit, thank you very much.